Hello, my name is Paul Nowak, and I've created this video to give a brief overview of the ebook market, specifically for niche publishers and independent authors interested in tapping this new and popular technology. During this short video, I will explain why the ebook market is important to your business and some basic information you need to get started planning your own strategy. There's been a lot of hype about ebooks, but there's some good solid numbers behind the movement as well. As of January 2010, Amazon had sold 3 million Kindle ebook readers. That's not counting the new ebook reader that was announced in August and sold out within one day. That's not counting their applications for the iPad, the iPod, BlackBerry phones, Android phones, or PC and Macs. It's also not counting anybody else's ebook readers, such as Sony's, Barnes & Noble's Nooks, or the Kobo reader. These customers have paid $150 to $490 for a device to read books on. One of the major reasons for purchasing is the assumption that you're going to save money by reading ebooks versus the physical books, even if it's only 20% discount. So if you're saving $2 on every $10 book you buy, and you're justifying the cost of a $150 to $500 device, you're planning on buying and reading a lot of books. You're probably familiar with the 80-20 rule, that 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your customers. We can now identify that segment of the readership market that are heavy readers with purchasing power even during a recession. And that's a market we can't ignore. So now we've seen that there is a market for these books, and a sizable one at that. But how much is there to be made at it? Well, Amazon will give 70% of the list price of an ebook to the publisher or author that submits it, provided you meet some basic guidelines. Apple's iBookstore also does 70% and is expected that Barnes & Noble and Google will follow this 30-70 split model. With your current print books, is any retailer giving you 70% of the cover price? Well, conversion to ebooks is going to take some time and some monetary expense. It is a very cheap print run that's going to produce a higher return per book than any physical printing, with no physical inventory that will ever run out. So the questions to ask yourself and your business partners is, why are you ignoring the heaviest readers with demonstrated purchasing power? Can you afford to ignore them much longer? And what's going to happen if your competitors breach the ebook market before you and offer better products? Before moving on, let's just look at a few important milestones in the ebook revolution. The first ebook that's been uploaded to the internet was the Declaration of Independence to Project Gutenberg on December 1st, 1971. Note that this predates most people's conceptions of when the internet was started, but ebooks have been an integral part from the very beginning. Sony's first portable reader came out in September of 2006. Amazon followed up with the popular Kindle in November of 2007. Just this past July, Amazon announced that ebooks were outselling hardcover books. And Girl with the Dragon Tattoo sold 1 million copies just on the Kindle platform. Again, this is not counting any ebook sales through Barnes & Noble, Sony's store, or Apple's iBookstore, just on the Kindle. In fact, as we look at the major players, Amazon has a 60 to 80% market share of the ebook market, depending on who you ask and what their definition of the ebook market is. Right now, Amazon is winning hands down in both hardware and distribution methods. Barnes & Noble recently entered the market in 2009 with their Nook, and Sony's been in the game even longer than Amazon. Apple too is claiming 20% share of the ebook market, but their iBookstore is just one of many things that people use their iPads and iPods for, and certainly not the primary reason. Also, like Android and BlackBerry phones, people with Apple products can use the Kindles, Borders, or Barnes & Noble apps for reading books on their iOS devices. Which brings us to the confusing world of the hardware. I'm not going to run down the differences between all the different devices, but rather how they relate to the marketplaces, since that's where we authors and publishers sell our books. If you have a Kindle, you can read books purchased from Amazon and from other sources such as Project Gutenberg, FeedBooks, Google Books with conversion, etc. If you have a Nook, you can buy your books from Barnes & Noble and read them on your device, but you can't read Amazon books. You can also get your books from various sources on the internet. Same with Sony. You have to buy from the proprietary marketplace to read on the proprietary hardware. Now there's a bunch of third-party ebook readers coming out later this year, not to mention a plethora of tablets and smartphones that are already out there running either Android or iOS, which means it's an iPad or an iPod directly from Apple. These devices are distributor agnostic, meaning that as long as they can run Android or iOS, they can download and run the Amazon, Borders, or Barnes & Noble applications, or all of them, and purchase and read books from all of those stores. Therefore, you may not need to publish on every single distributor channel to hit most of the devices. Another very important factor in defining your ebook strategy involves the ebook formats. There are actually dozens of ebook formats, but there are three that are very popular with the portable readers: EPUB, Mobi, and PDF. EPUB is the one used natively by Barnes & Noble's Nook, Sony readers, and Apple's iBookstore. Mobi is used by the Kindle. The new third-party books coming out, ebook readers coming out, are able to read both of these or one or the other. PDF is very common and very easy to convert, and if you're watching this, you've probably already made PDF ebooks. However, they're not very good on portable readers, even those that claim that they can read them fine. And they're only consistent in Acrobat Reader, which means they're best viewed on a tablet, a laptop, or a desktop computer. Let me show you some examples of why it's not a good idea to rely entirely on PDF. Here we have a screenshot from the Sony Reader 600 with some EPUBs that I converted for Aquinas and More, and a bunch of PDFs. And if you look closely, the PDFs are a little bit different. For instance, God's Debris up at the top, the Microsoft Word document down there, and the world denomination, that's all run together. One, right away you see the formatting of the titles is weird. The one that says Microsoft Word, that author obviously took a Word document, exported to PDF, and the meta information that gave the title and author didn't even show up. As you'll see, the EPUB books, such as the G.K. Chesterton ones, have the author's name on the right side in a smaller font, and none of the PDFs do. Now, as we look at the next screenshot, you'll see one of these PDFs opened up, and the typeface is incredibly small on the reader. Now, the Sony 600, this is the new touch tablet, came out last year, and it's supposedly one of the best ones for reading PDFs. It's not perfect, as you can see, and that has to do not with the readers, but with the PDFs themselves. It's a container file, and there's not a whole lot of strict regulation on how things are formatted. So when you open up a PDF like this one, it's kind of like a roulette wheel. This one was just too hard to read, and I can read some small type, but this is just too hard to read. So I used the feature to zoom in, and this is what I saw. The line breaks actually were in between sentences, and I'm going to read a whole 300-page novel, and every sentence is, every other line is 2 words. I'm going to get annoyed pretty quickly. In other books I've done, when you zoom in, you're missing graphics, charts, tables. They're saying, look, this is demonstrated by this diagram here, and I can't see the diagram. It gets very annoying very quick. So for your customers to have the best experience on these expensive portable devices they purchase to read your books, you're going to want it in a native format. Now, there are some automated ways of converting PDFs to ebooks, and I have 2 examples of why that's not a good idea right here. The top example right here is from Pride and Prejudice. This is actually from Google's EPUB conversion of it. Throughout the book, there's shadows of pages that were captured and inserted in the text. Sometimes the headers were inserted right in the middle of sentences, right in the middle of paragraphs. There'd be a break, and it would say, volume 2 or something like that. This wasn't obviously checked by a human line by line. The bottom example is from the Internet Archive, and it's an EPUB conversion of the Confessions of Augustine. There are letters missing, page numbers inserted in the middle of lines, question marks where there were characters. It's practically unreadable in this rendition. So not only do you have to do it in a native format for the readers, but you need to do it in a way that's going to be humanly readable for your customers. So why all the fuss about these ebook readers? A big reason is the e-ink technology. If you've ever sat in front of a computer screen, and I guess us younger generations are more accustomed to this, your eyes start to hurt after a while. The combination of the backlight, the resolution, it drains our eyes as human beings, and we're not adapted quite yet to that. E-ink simulates paper, and it's really something you've got to see in person. If you go to a Barnes & Noble store, most of them will show you a Nook in person. Most of the other stores, they just have sticker displays, and if you watch videos online, you really can't appreciate what the screens look like. Not only do you have a portable device that you can carry dozens, hundreds, thousands of books with you, you can search all of them, you can search within them, you can take notes from them. Almost all of them have a bookmarking or a highlighting feature. The Amazon Kindles actually let you export those notes to a text file, which is great because you can then copy them over to your computer and then cut and paste into whatever document you're working on. The other thing is hyperlinked notes and internal reference. If you ever read a book, such as one that comes to mind is St. Ignatius of Loyola's Spiritual Exercises. If you're actually following the exercises, you have to skip back and forth to read prayers, because it'll say, second exercise, your prayer for today starts with the first prayer from yesterday. You'd have to flip back and forth in the book. Same thing with endnotes or footnotes. With the e-readers, you can actually click on the link, jump to the place that you're supposed to be jumping to look something up, such as an endnote or the prayer for that day or whatever internal reference. Then hit the back button on your reader and jump right back where you were. This is actually then faster than it would have been with the physical book. A lot of these features, though, won't work if you just have a PDF version that the person's reading on their ebook reader. So again, it's very important, if you're going to enter these marketplaces, you're going to cater to these people who are investing in book reading technology, that you deliver content that's going to be pleasing to them. Again, if your competitor offers a similar product and they can follow links and search and take notes out of their book, whose product are they going to buy? And while we're on the subject of competition, I'm not the only ebook converter out there. You need to ask whoever you're going to use as an ebook conversion partner, unless you're going to do all this yourself, whether or not they're going to produce files for all the readers. Some people only produce for EPUB, some people only produce Mobi files for the Kindle. You need to find out who's going to do what you need for your strategy. Are they going to create and check internal links? The table of contents at the very least should be hyperlinked. If endnotes and internal references are linked, that's even better. Are they going to have a human being check for format errors? Some people out there who are running conversion services actually refer to their process, which is all automated, as a meat grinder. So consider whether you agree that your book is something like sausage to be churned out by a machine. Are they going to test it on different devices? One of the first books I did for the Kindle, I had to do 3 times because the character set was a little different in the preview window on the PC and the actual Kindle. So you want to find somebody who's going to check on the devices and give you feedback. Are they going to charge you an upfront fee, or are they going to take something out of your royalties from the distributors each time? Are they going to give you your files for your books so you can submit them? Obviously, if you're going to pay an upfront fee, they should be giving you the books. They may subsidize it, saying we'll convert it for less, but we'll take a percentage off every sale. ISBNs, Apple and Sony, for the iBook store and the Sony Reader store, require that you get unique ISBNs for the digital editions. Everybody else doesn't seem to care. So that's something to factor into whether you're going to invest in an additional ISBN. Again, Apple, iPad, and iPod are format agnostic, so you could just simply do the Kindle in Barnes & Noble stores and then tell your customers, well, if you have an iPad, if you have an iPod, get the app, and then you can read our book on your iPod or iPad. And that's it for the brief overview of the ebook market. If you need more information, there's a lot of information out there on Google. Otherwise, you can email me directly at the email address listed on the screen. If you're in the Catholic book market, you can also contact Ian at Aquinas and More. Ian is doing a digital delivery service, kind of like Amazon and Barnes & Noble store, specifically for the Catholic niche market. So you can also contact him if you have any questions.